Velux windows are a nice way to add light to a room and modernise the room, but they can be a little bit tricky if you've never installed one before. Well, today we're going to break the whole process down from installing the window to tiling round it. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll be able to take on your first Velux install yourself. So the very first step, once we've tiled up to the bottom of the Velux, is to get the battens on. So these battens are what support the clips on the Velux windows. They need to overhang at the bottom, either side, 250 mil. So I've got 250 mil over this way, 250 mil over that way. That's for the bottom one. The top one has to sit 100 mil either side. And then what we have to do is set the top of this batten 80 mil above the top of the previous row of tiles. So 80 mil from the top of that previous row of tiles. We're 250 mil past the end of that rafter there, and 250 mil that end. I'll just level that, make sure I get that nice and level, and then I'll just nail that in place. Now for this top one, all we need to do is measure our window size, plus 45 mil from the top of that bottom batten down there. So we'll go 1400 plus 45 mil, so in our case 1445. We'll set that, level it and nail it. Top and bottom battens are on. Now if we look at the two boxes we've got the window in a separate box and the flashing kit in another box. Now in here you've got these things. They look like foam pieces. Those are the insulation collars. We're going to build them up, then we're going to cut the felt and install them first. So you've got four sides of the insulation collar. I've clipped a couple of them in already. You can see they've just got these little clips. You have to have these brackets facing outwards because they are what overlap around the edges of the window. If you actually part the insulation there, you can see where these collars go on. So all you got to do is line them up, a little bit fiddly. It's like adult Meccano, this. And all you got to do is just clip them in. You hear them clip, and of course do that on every corner. You might be doing these as a retrofit. In that case, if you've got something to stand on inside, like you're doing these in a loft conversion, you might do this bit from inside, as you would cutting timbers and your battens through and that kind of thing. But anyway, I digress. The bit we got to do now is cut out the felt. From each of the corners, I'm running my knife at 45 degrees, leaving enough material to flatten the cut off. I'm then using a staple gun to staple back the excess felt around the battens surrounding the window to hold the felt out of the way whilst we work. I then remove some of the excess material. Now we lost a little bit of sound for this section of the video, technology but I'll do my best to voice over this. So what you can see here is I'm inserting the insulation collar that we built earlier. That just tucks into our opening and should be nice and tight, and it should sit flush with a bracket around the edge. What we then have is some brackets included in the box. You only need the corner ones for a window of this size, not the side ones. And what we're going to go to is the red line. You'll see the window has two lines on it. It's got a blue line, that's for flat tiles like slate, and it's got a red line. So we're working to the red line that you see here. And the corner brackets have locators in them, so they're nice and easy to position. We're then using these 30mm Torx screws provided to fix the bracket to each of the four corners. So here's where you got a decision to make. In the instructions, before you install the window, it says to take the window, the sash, out of the frame. That's what the instructions say. I don't do that. I go against that. I think it makes it more fiddly and more long-winded. So you've got that choice. You can either go my way, leave the window in, makes it quicker, or you can go the instructions way and take the window out. Personally, I get a friend and we lift that window in one. Saves a lot of time. But up to you. You make the choice. We lifted our window up onto the roof battens and then used the battens and the tiles to walk along to lift the window and drop it down into the opening. So the window's in, it's dropped down on the inside of the insulation collar. You just want to check that it all looks like the insulation collar's not been pushed in. Sometimes it pushes it down. You'd have to pop the window back out and just tuck it back up around the window. This one's all good. Now what we need to do is visually check, especially if you're retrofitting one of these that's in the middle of the opening. It should be, but it's worth checking. Then what we do is we do a couple of checks. We look down the edge of the sash and check that the gap looks even all the way around down each side, and that there's not a few mil of discrepancy along the sides. This one's nice and even, from top to bottom. We then open the window very slightly and we look at the bottom there, you'll see a gap of light. And you just want it to be a couple of mil, and you'll be able to then see if the window is sitting nice and even and that's not tipped over like that. With the side bits, you could have a twisted rafter. Let's say this was twisted and it pushed the window out of square, you'd get a dodgy gap. What you'd have to then do, you get these little packers with it, 2 and 3 mil packers, 1, 2 and 3 mil packers. You'd pack them around the sides of the window to bring the window back square. But these ones are millimetre perfect. We ain't got to do any of that. The light gap is perfect. So we're good to go back up top and carry on with the install. Couple of screws go in each of the brackets now. Little 30 mil screw in there and one of the long screws, can't remember what mil were these, 80s, something like that. Pop that in the end hole on each of the brackets. There we go. And that is now screwed in position. With the window in, we're now onto the felt collar. This little drawing is quite confusing, but basically, let's get up there. I'll show you how it goes on. So I've unfolded it. You can see there's a bit there with some excess felt. That goes at the top. So it's going to lay there like that. There's a few stages to this. This becomes like an adult Meccano kit. If I put that roughly over there, it sits on the top of the window there, and there's a sticky strip. So we need to peel that off. You want to get the bottom of this sat right where the insulation collar meets the bottom of the window. Get the corners lined up and then you can stick it. And that'll just sit right there and stick to the top of the window. Just like that, with the excess left like that for now. What we'll do, this will get pulled down to put the gutter piece in. The worst bit of the hull install, the fiddliest bit that most people struggle with, including me. But this rest of this, all we do is we dress this round the window. What you'll see is all the way around, you've got this bitumen strip, and that sits all the way around the window. So we just peel that back, get off, and that just sticks to the bottom of the window. You can see we've done it all the way around the sides. Right, the dreaded gutters. Now, this one slides inside of this one if your window is too wide for just one of them. We only need the one. So this is the bit everyone hates, the dodgy bit. We've got to cut our roof felt. Now, this gutter piece sits at technically 3 degrees, but all I do is I put it at an angle there. I mark the bottom of it all the way along the bottom of the gutter piece, and then I mark, you can feel the rafter, I mark the middle of the rafter there. I mark the middle of the rafter there. Lift that out of the way, you can see the line there. And then this is the scary bit. Well, it is if you get it wrong. And we're just going to cut up there like that, and then along our line, nice and accurate along the line. And what you'll end up with is a little flap. Now, you get these little bitumen sticky strips. We'll just pop that underneath and that will reseal should any water manage to find its way in there. So many stages to this. And what we do, lay that on the batten for now. So the collar is pulled back over the gutter, fold that down, lift that flap out because that can't be tucked under the gutter because this all needs to tuck in afterwards. Make sure you've got the gutter bit where your mark was on the end of it. Yeah, so we're shooting over the window each end. Lift that back. We can then get our angle again. You can see there's a gap there. Goes to nothing down here. Right, we've screwed that in. Now the collar, if you look, tucks over the edge of it, and you've got the flap there. So what we're going to do, make sure we've got enough to tuck in, and then we're just going to trim that collar back. So the collar's tucked in, the bit of felt we cut then tucks in on top. So no water, if it runs down, can actually get in. That wants to sit just on top of that one, just inside it. Then you got these little clips, and then all they do, if we come in a little closer, is they just retain the whole thing. So they just pop in there, like that. Now what we do, just stretch these little bits of the collar over the battens, just staple them down to keep them in place. What you now need is the bottom flashing piece. With the window open, I'm just going to lay that where it would sit. You can see the screw holes. So that's in its position. Now I'm going to shape the apron roughly, just so that we can make a mark on the tiles. Just draw a little mark on the bottom of each tile that this covers with your pencil, because now we need to chamfer the tiles. So you can see that mark where that apron finished. All you want to do, take a measurement back from that mark, 50 mil. So there, make a mark all the way along. Now each of the tiles that we've marked, we need to remove all of those tiles, and we're going to use a grinder with a diamond disc to grind all of the high spots off each of the tiles that the flashing sits on. With your tiles back in place, now all you've got to do is put this bottom flashing back on and then reshape where we shaped before, but there's something we need to do different. What we need to do now is we need to just bend the whole thing up. In fact, the easiest way is to do this. So just bend it no more than 30 degrees. Now we want this fixing piece. Don't know the technical term, but you'll find it in the box. And all that does is that sits over the top of it, and that's going to retain the whole thing in place. On the ends here you'll see you've got these rubber blocks and some dowels that sit into the frame of the Velux window. And now we can just fix the thing in place. This video is sponsored by Ultimate Tool Competitions, my website where you guys could win this 30-piece DeWalt power tool kit with enough tools to fill a van. One of you guys needs to win this, so head to the link down in the description, grab your tickets, and we'll see you on the live draw. Back to the video. Now we've got the two side flashings. They're the ones with the foam that sits underneath the collars that you see on here, and they slide down and they locate in position, and you have a fold over tab and the little clips that are included in the box to hold the whole thing in position. Right, now if we open the window, there's a little button. See that little black clip with the grey bit on it? Yeah. So you have to push this little clip. You'll see it when you open the window. That slides up and pops off. Let the window back down, lay them to the side for now. This covering piece tucks under the frame there. Not the frame, the pre-installed bit. And then we slide it up, and then down the bottom here, there's a little indentation behind there. You're not really going to be able to see it, but you'll feel it, and that locks it into position. Now the bits we took off, them covering strips, they just slide down in place. Now the last few bits of the window to go on before we do the tiles round it. If you're not subscribed and you don't want to miss future videos like this one, hit subscribe and hit the like button, because that helps this video to reach and help more people. This hood section just pops over the top like that. You can see there's a couple of screw holes. Got grey screws for this bit, torque screws, and all we do just fit that onto the frame. I'll do that both sides. Right, last bit of the flashing now. All that does is sits down over that lip there, and you can see the little tabs. Bring it in, push it down, fold the tab down, and then fix it with one of the screw down brackets. Now technically that's the Velux installed, and we just got to do the tiling. I'm going to show you how we do our tiling around the Velux, because, well, that to me is part of the same job. So let's get on some tiling. So you can see we've just cut this side, but what we're going to do now is show you how we cut around the window. So this top row here, we need a section of tile from the top of that batten to 100 mil gap above the window. So there's a 100 mil gap right there. To cut them tiles to length, you'll need a tool with a diamond cutting disc, whether that be a cut-off saw or a grinder. We're then replacing all the tiles above, sliding them down so they locate on the battens all the way up to the existing house. So we've got a 100 mil gap between the top of the window and the top tile. Along the sides, we've got a 30 mil gap. Now, all we've done on this one, you can see here, we've cut a bit of the lip off to give ourselves the right gap. So we're going to have 30 mil up the side of the window. What you'll find is, Chris, if you just lay that tile in there, and they'll be able to see. So this tile we've cut, but what's going to happen is you're going to see that it doesn't sit properly. You can see it rocks. So if you whip that off, Chris, I'll show them why. Just flip it over. This lip here that sits over your batten often hits the flashing along the side of the window. So looking on the underneath of the tile, you'll be able to remove that lip. All you've got to do is mark the bit that fouls on the flashing, and then use a grinder, again with a diamond disc, just to remove that lip. With that ground down, it should fit, should sit nice. Does it? Perfect. Now tiling is just a case of rinse and repeat. If you want to see more about how we tile a roof, it's best to check out the extension series where we explain it in more depth. But once the tiling's done, it should look something like that, and hopefully you can see it transforms the property. Once you got all your tiles on, the last step is to beat the flashing that goes over them tiles at the bottom. Just mould that to the tiles. I'm not going to do that yet in my case because we've got this roof to finish as part of our extension series, and we've got the lead work to go in. So we're going to beat them down, shape them when we do the lead work along the top of the house there. Now if you want to see more on how we built this roof and how we finish it after this video, then click on this playlist where you can find the extension series, and we cover the whole thing in an hour-long episode. And I'll see you guys in the next video.